A major twist just rocked the courtroom in the case against Luigi Mangione. After months of silence, the man accused of killing United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson finally stepped back into the spotlight, and what the judge decided shocked everyone. Some charges were suddenly wiped away, but the most serious accusation still looms over him, and what comes next could decide whether Mangione spends his life behind bars, or faces something far more final. When Luigi Mangione entered the Manhattan courtroom on September 16, all eyes were on Judge Gregory Caro, and the judge wasted no time delivering a surprise. The terrorism charges against Mangione were officially dropped. According to Caro, the evidence that prosecutors had presented to the grand jury just wasn't strong enough to support such a serious claim. Mangione, dressed in beige jail garb, listened as the ruling came down, his lawyers nodding along, knowing this was a small but significant victory. But while one set of accusations had just been erased, the weight of the case was far from lifted. Because even though the terrorism charges were gone, the murder charges remained. Judge Caro made it clear, Luigi Mangione is still facing second-degree murder in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. That's the accusation prosecutors are determined to prove, and it's the charge that could keep Mangione behind bars for the rest of his life. For Mangione's defense team, the dismissal of one set of charges was a win, but it didn't erase the gravity of what still lies ahead. And with that ruling, the courtroom turned its attention to an even bigger battle, one that stretched far beyond New York State. Mangione's attorneys quickly pushed back, arguing that the state case shouldn't even exist. Their claim? That New York prosecutors are running a parallel trial to the federal one, and that trying Mangione twice for the same crime amounts to double jeopardy. In other words, they say the state is piling on charges just to make sure something sticks. But Judge Caro didn't buy that argument, at least not yet. He reminded the courtroom that the federal and state systems are separate, and that both cases would continue for now. Still, the defense's strategy was clear: paint the state trial as unnecessary, and shift the spotlight to the higher stakes battle waiting at the federal level. And that federal case is where the danger truly lies. Unlike the state charges, the federal prosecution isn't just about prison time, it carries the possibility of the death penalty. Prosecutors have already signaled they'll be pursuing the harshest outcome if Mangione is convicted. For his part, Mangione has pleaded not guilty to both the state and federal charges, standing firm in court that he had no role in the killing. But the overlap between the two cases means every move in New York is just a preview of what's coming when the federal trial begins. And with the highest stakes imaginable on the table, the deck, one hearings suddenly feel like more than just routine scheduling. They could set the tone for the fight of Mangione's life. All eyes are on December 1st. That's when hearings on Mangione's state charges are set to begin, and prosecutors will finally have to lay out more of their case. They'll need to show why the murder charge should stick, especially after the terrorism allegations collapsed under scrutiny. On the other side, Mangione's defense team is expected to double down on their arguments of overreach and parallel prosecution, hoping to chip away at the credibility of the state's case before a jury even enters the picture. It's a showdown that could determine how strong, or how fragile, the road ahead will look when the federal trial comes calling. Tuesday's hearing wasn't just about legal arguments, it was also Mangione's first time back in court since February. For months, his case had been moving quietly through filings and motions, but this was the moment the public finally saw him again, wearing beige jail garb. He looked noticeably thinner, his expression hard to read as the judge handed down the ruling. The long gap since his last appearance only fueled the sense of anticipation in the courtroom. Reporters, family members, and curious onlookers all wanted to see how Mangione would carry himself after half a year away from the spotlight. And yet, outside the courthouse, the scene was even stranger. While the courtroom carried a heavy, tense atmosphere, the sidewalk outside told a very different story. A group of Mangione's supporters gathered early that morning, waving signs and chanting his name. But what really turned heads was their choice of costume. Several showed up dressed as Luigi from the Mario video games, complete with green hats and fake mustaches. It wasn't the first time his fans had pulled this stunt, but it underscored just how strange the public attention around this case has become. To some, it looked like loyal support. To others, it felt like a mockery of a tragic situation. Either way, the spectacle outside the courthouse made it clear, This trial isn't just a legal battle, it's turned into a cultural sideshow. Luigi Mangione walked out of court with fewer charges, but hardly a lighter future. The terrorism allegations may have been erased, yet the murder charge still hangs over him like a shadow, and the looming federal case threatens an even harsher fate. With hearings set for December 1st, the next chapter could reshape everything we know about this trial. Will the state's case hold together under pressure, or will the defense succeed in tearing it apart? For now, one thing is certain: the story of Luigi Mangione is far from over, and the stakes have never been higher.